Difference Morning Show. I'm Jeff Cook. I'm with Kristen Messagey, Jackie Contessa, and the TJ Wilson. Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Kristen, I specially bought at the store this week some real cream. I'm forgetting the word. What is this? Heavy cream.
Welcome back, Heavy Cream.
What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Oh,
about
it's delightful.
the heavy cream. I know, it's the way.
It's dessert in the morning right here.
This is the way.
Which is the way to go. Hey, speaking on things that we get addicted to and fixate on, we brought up fixations last time. This is a great list of all sorts of thoughts about how we think about things repetitively, perhaps not in a healthy way. We could talk for days just on the setup, but to jump in, anybody got a quote that can launch us?
No, but I do want to define fixation because I think it's important.
That works. Mm-hmm.
So it's an obsessive, unhealthy preoccupation. So I think we just really need to put an exclamation point on what we're talking about. This is where we all get real stuck and just repetitively.
Explain it to me like I'm 5.
It's not like a thing we sometimes think, right? It's like the thought pattern that grips our attention. And until we do some work, it's really, really in charge. So it's a big part of all of our deal, I think.
So when this comes up, a lot of times I refer to it as the problem that doesn't feel like the problem that feels like a solution.
So good.
Because it's literally one of those things that we have to like very much break the glass on. Yeah. Excited to see what you guys have to say.
Someone with a name that I do not know how to pronounce because I'm very bad at foreign names. And I'm not going to try because that's embarrassing. Says, we often confuse determination with its evil twin, fixation. While determination is our ability to stand our ground while pursuing our goals, fixation, on the other hand, is an unhealthy attachment to an ideal. And this just made me think a lot about how, like, looking at this list of fixations, like, it would be very easy for most of us in our type to explain why that fixation is good.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I don't know how to necessarily describe, like, I don't know that I have thoughts about fixation to say right away, but there is something about these ideas, these things that we can sort of wrap ourselves around and like take on like a blanket and say it's okay to wear this blanket that can like be really super damaging to ourselves and our lives and our loved ones.
I want to go that direction also. Kristen brought up that these are unhealthy mental states. I suppose we probably need to unpack unhealthy if we're going to use that term. But getting into what TJ is saying, it seems to me it's really important to say sometimes being persistent in your thinking is a virtue. It's a great good. Gumption, determination, perseverance, I associate those with really healthy people. So what is it that makes these, we'll get into the list here in a moment, but what makes this list so negative? How do we talk about unhealth here in your mind?
These are very in line with what we avoid, right? So these things give us what feels like a semblance of, control in a human sense, right? Towards security, agency, bonding, whatever it is that we want. They give us a semblance of that, but they're in line and don't make friction. They're in line with what we avoid. So I think that's where it gets really tricky. My quote that I brought. I should really research my people because I was going to say I don't know who this person is either. Charles C. Noble. I'm so sorry, guys.
We're just highlighting the worst
I'm looking
of
at just the words.
humanity
Yes,
unknowingly.
sorry.
I do the same thing.
The quote is, "First we make our habits, then our habits make us." And I thought that was very astute for this. Yeah.
The only thing I want to add about this is that the reason these are unhealthy is they're obsessive, and we're not choosing them. They take us over versus us saying, okay, here's where I'm going. And we can't, it's such a one note thing, Jeff, as your language, like it's the gear that I can turn on without any choice. And I keep trying to solve problems using this one gear. And it, its utility comes to an end.
In my view, the one note is exactly the point here. It is, I think we could pair fixations with our type in excess. And it's the mental state of being in excess. And excess isn't healthy because excess means that you're not balanced. And I'll continue to move back to this, that balancing across the centers is really essential for a thriving life. One of the things that I noticed re-looking at my list of fixations is just how much I could pair easily the fixations of each of the types with their repressed center. It's just all over. How am I going to avoid getting into my mind, my body, or my emotions?
Can you highlight one type with
Sure.
giving that as an example?
Well, let's pick on TJ, shall we?
That sounds
Do it.
fun.
Do it.
The 9 was the one that sparked for me, but you want to talk about indolence and how this obstructs your ability to get into your body?
I also want to sort of point back to we talked last week about steps, about how this is sort of like this thing, we don't get our motive fulfilled, and then we fall into this, and then we fall into this, and then we fall into this, and we fall into this, and this is, to me, this is one of those steps, and all of the passions or the sins fit this really nicely as well, and it's sort of like that moving that passion into a place where it's a pattern, it's a regular thing. So going from sloth into indolence, it's like the inability to engage appropriately to get going on the things that need to get done is something that 9s, that 4s, 5s, and 9s, all withdrawn types, we don't do the things that need to be done when they need to be done, right? We can't engage like we're supposed to. We have unproductive doing. So for 9s, the sin, the passion is sloth, and it's about it is describing that. It's not engaging the stuff that needs to happen when it needs to happen. And for a lot of us, that's seen as laziness or some kind of couch potato mental image. But you move into the fixation, you move into this place where it becomes a habit, and you get stuck in places where you don't care about the things that are supposed to matter anymore.
Yeah.
It's become a mental pattern that sort of gets you stuck about, well, I can't move this thing, so I can't care about it anymore. Yeah. And that reinforces the sloth and reinforces the excess and continues to hold me down in a place that I can't engage life, and now I don't want to anymore, and now I kind of don't care about it anymore.
Can I ask a question about that? So in my list here, I have kind of what it might look like consciously versus unconsciously, because consciously that's not in the awareness, right? If we saw what we were doing there, which is why we all use these tools to actually wait a minute, what am I actually doing? So I think at a conscious level, does it sound something like it's fine? I just genuinely, this is not a problem.
Yes.
Is that how it,
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
And this is what's so interesting to me is how do we perceive the unconscious deal? And so I just think that's really interesting. Yeah. And there are times when that actually is true. So it's all very tricky.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it can be, there are ways that this can protect us. Yeah. The example that was happening in the world when we were talking about this was Notre Dame was on fire.
Ugh.
Right?
The cathedral.
Yeah. Not the school, the cathedral. So, and it made me think about, like, there are wars happening, there are famines, there are people dying all over the world, and I kind of have tuned out to that. I've become a little bit indolent about the tragedies that are happening in the world because I can't do anything about them, and I can't put my energy into caring about these things. But when the cathedral was on fire, like I want to give money to this effort. I want to help this thing, and it's like this church building is on fire, but there are people dying all over the world, and my desensitization because of a 24-hour news cycle, because of worldwide information, because of all of this stuff, I can't do anything about those problems. And so I've put them in this place where it's like I just kind of don't care about it.
I want to highlight the idea that I think the fixation builds on the traditional sin or passion. I think sloth kind of gets into your heart and then it moves into your head, and that's going to be true, I think, across the types. Yep. That when we embrace the passion, it moves into our minds, and as Kristen was saying, I think it becomes a doom loop. It becomes the mind reinforces the heart, which reinforces the mind, which reinforces the heart, and you can become quickly oblivious to the fact that you're in a rut like that. It seems like this is
I think
normal.
that's the norm. I think that's how people live, is those two
experiencing
pieces.
excess in that space. Yeah.
TJ, that was super helpful.
Damn it, I'm next.
I mean, we don't have to go, but there
We
is
can go
no order.
backwards.
Freshman.
Well, actually, let's talk about 4s and 5s, because I brought up the fact that it was. I think you could pair these easily with repressed center, but I have for 4s that they're
good.
fixated on melancholy, and 5s are fixated on stinginess. Would any corrections to that language? Anything that would be better than melancholy and stinginess for these two types, and then we can talk about each.
I was gonna ask you guys the same for 5s because I just don't like the word, and I'm like, it just doesn't feel fair.
Mine's
Stinginess?
cowardice, so they can take stinginess and
I don't like cowardice either.
it's so accurate.
I know.
We'll talk about it in a second. The 5s, I think mental withholding is really what I want to get at, but stinginess kind of encapsulates that in a term.
Yeah.
Jackie, do you have one you like better? Like, do you have one that you prefer?
I don't, because when I'm talking about avarice, which I also hate using that word because I'm like, what are we going to say that ever? I often refer to it as withholding and then use withholding from there on out. And so for this word, I'm like, yeah, you just withhold your whole life. It just doesn't feel fair. So I don't have a word to throw in the ring.
I like stinginess because it can quickly get applied to the places that 5s struggle in their minds in terms of being stingy about gifting out and exposing their emotions, their ideas, handing off their physical resources. There is a refusal to share at some levels when 5s are really unhealthy, and it seems to me that pings for me in terms of where 5 struggles. Also, note it very much is an excuse to not to get into your body and not to engage the world in that, and to bring it back full circle to these are obstacles to balance and they keep you in excess. That hits me as clean and sound.
5s, if you're comment on YouTube and comment on Spotify and wherever else you can comment, because I'm curious to see how that hits, right? Because I hear those things and I hear, obviously frugal typically has to do with money, but I hear someone who is cautious and not someone who's a jerk about it. When I hear stingy, I think that it implies that this person has no capability for generosity, when in reality it's just very calculated. So that's just me feelings. Anyway.
So,
I mean,
so part
Jackie's
of how,
a nicer person because flattery. So
part of how I understand this, like specifically thinking about the slide from the passion into the fixation. So avarice or greed is, to me, it's it's a desire to keep or protect or hold on to, right? And then the stinginess or the withholding is about an intentional refusal to share.
Yeah.
So the passion is very much about keeping, and the fixation then is about not giving. Does that make sense?
Well, but their conscious thinking, right, would be just, I need more time alone. Like, I don't have enough energy. I need more before I can engage. This withholding is not conscious. It can be the mechanism, but their fixation is, oh, I just need more.
Yeah.
So you have to look at the conscious way that shows up versus the unconscious mechanism at play. Because none of
And it's
us are
not
out here being
necessarily
like, I'm
about-
an asshole.
Right. It's not about being a jerk. It's about there can be all kinds of justification about why I
Exactly.
wouldn't share this thing with you.
And they could feel like it's just because I don't know enough yet. It's just because
Sure.
I don't have enough energy. So it's not a conscious stinginess. Just like I'm not aware, again, of my own cowardice unless I go looking for it.
Really want to highlight this idea. There's another quote, which I'm going to butcher, but it's something to the extent of their habits begin as spider webs and they turn into chains over time. There's something about these fixations that one of the reasons that they're unhealthy is they actually cut off your ability to choose at some levels. The habits themselves make choices for you. And that means that you're lacking volition. You're lacking something core to your humanity. If it's the case that we step in and say, well, of course, they're just a 5 in excess and they don't have a choice here. Well, that is a dehumanizing posture, both towards the person, and that's the condition that they've entered. That's a bad state of affairs. Oh, and then to Jackie's point, I think it's the case that 5s do have an ability to be generous in the same way, to use a different type. 7s have an ability to embrace that place of moderation, or even, what's the virtue for 7? It's something like that. It's like
Sobriety.
Yeah, sobriety. So it's almost like the opposite on that end. 5s can be lavishly gracious when they are balanced in their healthy self, understanding the resources they have, and because they understand themselves and who they are in the world, can thoughtfully dole out what's good and wise. 4s on the opposite side, same story for me, is that melancholy is something that keeps you stuck in inactivity. You can quickly get into a spot where your envy of others bemoans and becomes melancholy, and it becomes about yourself, and you get stuck in yourself in that cycle of sadness that might characterize a 4 in excess. But all of that is, I'm not moving, I'm not acting, I'm not being myself in the world. That seems to me a huge hurdle. Thoughts on 4s and melancholy?
And thinking about 4s as idealists along with 1s and 7s, like I kind of think that like envy is about like I don't get the things that other people get, and as it moves into melancholy, it becomes my life won't get better, and like an acceptance that things will not get better.
But also that tinge of superiority that 4s can tip into, which is that, well, it's because I'm so deep. It's because I'm so real and see things so, clearly and deeply, and other people just can't. So I also just want to, there's that, I want to say, like, sort of intellectual snobbery that I think gets missed in a lot of 4 teaching. That there's an edge to 4 that I think we need to also highlight. Because it's like, there's sort of like the, everything, but they sturdy themselves with but it's because I'm so much better, right?
I'm sad because I'm enlightened.
Yeah. Yes.
I find fours to be, we all to some degree will have again, these are problems that we think are solutions, right? They are automatic solutions for us. And I find that I'm a very big fan of everything that we are doing right now that sort of runs us in circles is really just being mismanaged, and we can manage and do things better, right? Like I'm not going to be a person that flatters other people. Like it just is. It's very much part of my language. So anyway, but so all to some degree we use this and we need to use it better. And I find that fours are very protective of melancholy, a melancholic state. And I want to understand it further, right? I think I had one client describe it to me as that this state did feel like actioning something, like doing something about it. So I'm actually very interested in this idea that fixations and our unproductive center kind of hold hands, because I don't know, but I find that fours tend to feel very attached. Like for me, I can't imagine a world where I'm sort of not gauging how someone feels about me through catching what I throw at them. Okay. That's, flattery to say the least, but I can't say that I like really feel very attached or like that is part of my person. And I'm curious if you guys have heard any of the same. I've heard more than a few times that they're more like it's always like, oh, my stupid envy, but melancholy is not like that for them. What do you guys think?
I think this is right, because what's painful, I think, for a four is like what's real, what's tangible. So you try to turn on other things and it's like their identity like disintegrates. If I'm not in pain, am I even here? Am I even alive? And that's the fixation piece, where it's like they can access other states, but it's not the thing that grabs, right? The fixation is the thing that's just like, never mind everything else.
Right. And we know that they have one of their personality patterns is, to put it reductively, don't get offended, don't come at me with pitchforks, is a focus on suffering, right? And that is essentially what excessive melancholy does. It perpetuates a pattern, right? This fixation. So yeah. Anyone else have any thoughts?
I think there's a couple of big things that I see contributing to that for fours, and one is that representation matters, right? And so like if everyone else in the world is trying to be happy, I want to make sure that the other people who are not like that can be seen. Like I want to stick up for my people in a way. And
I feel like
also,
fours and sixes share this.
Yeah. And because fours don't see pain as something that needs to be fixed, it is very easy to fall into the place where pain never needs to be fixed.
So well said.
Why would it need to get fixed?
Right.
Because sometimes it's pain for pain's sake. Sometimes it's melancholy. It's a cycle of embracing the sadness for the sadness' sake. And sometimes if you go stand in the sun, you won't be sad anymore. Not always. Not always. There are very real things that we can and should be sad about. And not always.
Right.
Not always.
And pain is an indicator, right? We know this. Pain is an indicator. My leg hurts because it is broken, and when it stops hurting, I can start to assume that it's starting to not be broken, right? So I mean, there's something,
and I can get on with it,
and I can
right?
get on with it.
I can then walk.
Yes.
Oh, that's so good.
Yes.
Seems to me that we all have a strategy for getting what we want, and if you pair attention with withdrawal, it's all over this. The strategy for getting attention is to take a step back and to fish. And the only way the four can fish is with, here's what, has emotional depth and ping and resonance, and will cut people, and the pay attention to me, I'm over here, and what are you presenting? It seems to me that if it's the case that envy has entered the four's heart, there that understanding that one is lacking, it's going to move you down that slippery slope of getting very sad. And that
But then liking
sadness becomes how is it that I'm going to connect with others? I want to show people how the negative quality can be. That seems to me, I don't think, like, there are times when I think it is appropriate for people to meet you in your pain.
Yeah.
But if you live in that space, that can be really destructive to your heart and soul.
And it's not necessarily even about liking it or wanting to like roll around in the mud, right? It's about it meets them at a place where they're perpetually like, well, might be closer to that missing thing that secret missing thing that nobody knows about except me. And so I think that it feels like a necessity. And I suppose if that's perhaps me and the stepping stone between, me and whatever's missing, finding whatever's missing, I need it. It's necessary. I maybe don't like it, but I need it.
It's the thing I need, hence the fixation.
We talked about it last time. Some people will look at other types and say, I really have a lot of sympathy for X type. When I look at 2s, 3s, and 4s, I have a lot of sympathy here that the need for attention strikes me is that would be real. I find that would be very difficult to overcome. So I have a lot of sympathy for.
I have questions
talk to
about
them in time, but go ahead.
I have questions about the way 4s need attention versus the other 2 because they're a withdrawn type. We don't need to get into it here, but I don't think it's the same. I think there's something different.
Agreed. Yeah.
Agreed.
TJ will unpack why. Real easy answer, by the way. TJ?
Super simple.
I mean, I think the short version is that the attention is focused inward. It is about the attention, not necessarily about other people.
Yes.
And it's a way of, because they are still bringing in the world from that emotional place, like everything is about relationships and sentimentality and emotions and how we're all connected and all of those things. Like that heart center is about those things, but 4s are not necessarily focused on other people. They're not necessarily taking that from other people. It's largely about how they feel about their own experiences.
Okay, thank you for confirming that, because I feel like I'm learning there, and that's okay. That's helpful.
I'd want to build on that, and this comes out, and we'll release it at some point. Our panel on 4s really talked about what they wanted from other people. There is, similar to 5s, the experience of the 4s living almost as disembodied, but they're not in their heads, they're in their emotions, and their hyper awareness that the only thing that is real is the emotional life is going to be a core filter through which experience, comes into them. But other people meeting them there is incredibly valuable. Can you meet me in that little sphere that is carved out for myself and my emotional core? And that's how they assess. So just like 6s and just like 2s, asking whether or not one is happy in the world is going to come whether or not somebody else is meeting me in that space. I have withdrawn for attention. Has somebody spent the energy to come towards me? And that's where happiness is found, just structurally, it seems to me.
See, I feel like you two just said opposite things, but I'm going to let it go because I don't need to be a big pain in the ass.
What was the contradiction?
It doesn't matter.
No,
I don't want to do my thing.
It's the spectrum of health to unhealth. It's like
right.
the unhealthiest version is other people don't matter, and the health version is other people have come into that space, and
that's helpful.
This is something I wanted to elevate. 4s, 5s, and 9s, I think, all struggle with a sense that the world is meaningless, and that can bleed over quickly into relationships and other people. And that's just going to be like naming that life has meaning is beautiful and is worthy of engaging will be very difficult for 4s, 5s, and 9s, given how their type processes, and that would build on
That was
what you're
good.
saying. Bang.
That was
All right. Well,
helpful.
let's pick. Now we can pick on 1s. When 2s and 6s are all thinking or oppressed, I'll volunteer to be tribute to move us forward. We've already sacrificed TJ.
We're all on here.
Doesn't matter.
We all have
So
to do it.
I have a traditional fixation is resentment. I think that a better fixation for 1s is hypersensitivity. In fact, I think resentment might be the sin. I'm kind of wrestling with this. You all have terminology. Go ahead.
No, it's resentment.
And I'm going to tell you why. I had a new discovery about resentment, which I've hated this, but
Burst into
recently I'm
flames.
like,
Okay,
okay,
keep
this is the
going.
thing.
I'm curious. Hey, Jeff. Good morning. I'm
drink my
curious about hypersensitivity when self-over control is incredibly important to type 1. I think resentment, especially when we realize that it is that 1 always points their weapons at themselves first, right? It is a way that keeps things in line. It's in the anger family. It keeps things in line. And for a type 1 to be able to mentally go back there, to cognitively mistake that as this is how I get what I want, it makes sense, right? Hypersensitivity is typically a word that I associate with 5. So I'm curious how hypersensitivity could be used as a tool.
I think it would be the case. Let me unpack hypersensitivity for a second. I just think it's a mental state that I experience. I can biographically pitch this, that anger at the world and at myself gets moved into my mind. What does it look like? Well, now I'm starting to get real picky about the ways that other people are screwing up and the ways that I myself am screwing up. And living in that space of hyper excessive standard making and quote unquote like a sensitivity to what is flawed, that strikes me as a worthy way to think about a fixation for a 1.
I hear you. I think that is one piece of the puzzle. And if we isolate it in its own little grouping and then we include other things like, traditional anger and all of its cousins, and we group it and then in its own little family, and then envy of all of its and all of envy's classmates, and we group it and we put all those 3 islands together, I think that does make resentment. I think what you are describing might be a piece of the puzzle, being incredibly sensitive to the things that you would, what you refer to as that you're picky about or whatever. But what happens when that happens for a long time? Resentment and all of the things that flow from there. So that's my thought, and I do think it includes what you are describing. But when I think of like flattery and melancholy and stinginess, there is a reason. There's a tool. There's a reason for, like 7s. I use the phrase over planning instead of planning, right? But there's something that it provides. There is something that resentment, I think, provides that hypersensitivity doesn't. What are your thoughts on that, Jeff?
Quick thought, and I would love the other twos, is I've like, because we've talked about this a couple times, and I think I consistently pivot towards saying resentment is relational, which means that I'm moving more into a unhealthy stress space.
Some resentment is.
Possibly.
Not all resentment is a response in the anger family. It's to ongoing chronic dissatisfaction. So it can be towards a person for certain. They're actually easier to name, but
no, that could be true. It could be both. And when you've paired it with envy, I think this is helpful. By the way, and I'm going back on me saying resentment's maybe the sin here, but thoughts from the others.
So the conscious thought that I have here to represent resentment is, why am I the only one? who gets this right? Why am I the only one who works as hard? Why am I the only one who actually blah, 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 blah? Like that is the thing that gets spun up on. Like I'm the one who knows how to do this, who knows what the standard should be, who can do it fast enough, good enough, da 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 da. That is resentment. And the other thing I want to say,
what's the difference between that and pride in your mind? Or are those real similar?
pride, well, I think we can let Jackie speak to that, but I do have thoughts about that. But it doesn't sound the same. It's like pride is a much more, I would say, positive feeling experience, because it's like, I know. Pride is like, oh, I can. And resentment is the like body, like what is the deal with everybody?
Because resentment ends up
turned-
coming from pride at some point too. So what Kristen's saying,
But
does make
again,
sense.
these all work together. And the other thing I want to say about hypersensitivity is I think you could argue we are all hypersensitive around our thing. It's what makes it a fixation, right? It's what makes us all constantly like back to the churn. So
That's a good argument.
I just really, and my experience, right? I'm married to a 1. My experience is that it is absolutely resentment, like this constant, and he can come off it, but then it's like back to, why am I the only one who? Now you won't say that because that's inappropriate. Like you won't say those words, but that is the energy and like just the and it's a feeling too. Like he's the feeling is coming off of him without him saying it. TJ?
I feel like this conversation about hypersensitivity represents a very particular way of experiencing and understanding this thing that we're talking about. So if I were a third party observer to this conversation, it's
Which
like
as a 9
like
you are.
yeah, basically. And I've been in this discussion with Jeff before. Like to me, it is choosing hypersensitivity instead of resentment is a hypersensitive way of describing Jeff's resentment. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense. Like it is a very particular way to describe the particular experience, which is representative of the hypersensitivity involved in the thing that some of us would use as resentment. Like it's
I'll buy it.
Backing up a little bit from this conversation, it seems to me like the word resentment has like it's a semantics discussion. I hear Jeff describing what he says is hypersensitivity, and I understand the resentment within that. And I also understand why he doesn't like the word resentment.
For sure.
Well, what one would?
Well, to be clear, this is a semantics discussion. And so if it were the case, we're going to elevate resentment, pairing it with anger in the mind, pairing it with a sense of criticalness in the mind matters, and pairing it, here will be the step towards 2s, pairing it with unproductive thinking, I think is going to be a real helpful thing here. It's the one is missing something because they haven't actually paused and really thought through things in a way that is helpful and matters. I think that's why hypersensitivity pings for me a little bit more, because hypersensitivity by its nature lacks thought. Resentment doesn't necessarily. If you have the sense of like lingering bitterness and indignation at people for perceived flaws and injustice.
But I think
a scale.
that's where the unproductive thinking comes in. Like as a fixation, resentment, the kind of resentment that I am talking about is non-thinking. It's a reactive not a wisdom posture. It gets stuck in that, like it feeds itself, not necessarily because it is well thought out, but because it is fed by, like, hypersensitivity is part of that experience of resentment, and it's fed by the anger, and it's not pausing to recognize, like, oh, this thing didn't happen to you, it just happened. Like, the resentment believes it happened to me, right? Or these people don't care about this thing, or like it's a perception that's not objective.
Yeah.
And hypersensitivity and resentment, like they both fit very well into that space, remembering that it is not a productive thinking kind of place to be.
It's I think a little bit of a scale, right? It includes hypersensitivity for sure. It includes envy, and with envy, a sense of imbalance.
Mm-hmm.
That's not fair, or you can do that and I can't, and why? There's an element of self-suppression that is involved with resentment.
Huge element of self-repression.
There's also, within resentment, I think one of the ways that it functions as a tool, as a fixation, as something useful, is that with resentment, there's always the comparative nature of envy and anger holding hands. Is there's an element of superiority, and that is sure as hell a tool for... Go ahead. Yes.
I have a question for you. So, like, I think this is where I'm stumbling, is that I can imagine somebody who's experiencing resentment, and it's different than what I want to think of as a fixation. Imagine a woman gets married to a man, they have a child. The man leaves 2 years after the birth of the child, leaving the woman alone to raise that child, and she feels resentment, that lingering sense of anger, bitterness, and indignation towards that man. That feels like something that's not necessarily the fixation that I would want to put my thumb on for ones.
If you zoom out, though, if you take all of the things that really play into that one situation and example, and we can look at it and say that resentment, traditional resentment, and traditional resentment, the way you sort of defined it as, I think seething was the word that you used. It scared me, and bitter and all that stuff. Yeah, that makes sense. But that's not always what we're talking about. The same way that when we're talking with, eights, we have to go, lust is not always inny and outy. You get what I'm saying? It's something else
I got thoughts
entirely.
on that too. We'll
Oh,
get to
yes,
that in a minute.
I got so many thoughts. Oh, someone DM'd me once and was like, can we please talk about eights and sex? Because we never do, because we're so focused on talking about how lust is not. Anyway, but all that to say, I think when we get hung up on a word and a definition, like there are other definitions that talk about how, resentment is an emotion rooted in envy, characterized by feelings of frustration, judgment, better than, superiority, arising from uncommunicated boundaries, unmet expectations, self-suppression, sometimes functioning as a bitter reaction to perceived injustice. So when we look at it one way, we think, how could this be the case all of the time? And that's not productive. And sure, but that is because we're looking at the exception, and pride functions differently in twos. There are a lot of times where the words as we know them don't quite make the cut for what the Enneagram is the journey the Enneagram is trying to take us on. So I don't think that seething, bitter, disgusting, I have to do everything myself and I married the wrong guy, is always the case. Sometimes I think there's an element of superiority. There's an element of keeping themselves in line that comes with resentment, that comes from, it holds hands with their need to be above it all, need to be above reproach.
Last thoughts on ones? Thank you for spending an extra measure of time.
Sorry. Can't stop, won't stop.
It's
my
me.
last
I
thought,
keep picking.
my
Good.
unconscious, right? So the conscious, why am I the only one who does this? With then also the self-correction of I shouldn't be this angry, like this sort of, that's the conscious level. But the unconscious level is like living with, it's not mental, it's living with the low grade irritation that colors everything. It doesn't have a clear source. It's like any circumstance can come in and ping that low grade irritation. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be a person, it can be a baseboard. Personal example. Like Bob and I'll be standing, I say in line, at our bathroom. And he'll suddenly be like, oh my gosh, these walls need painted. Oh my gosh. This, like, things that are just not right are always available to be pinged because the body experience of the low grade irritation is just always right there.
Sounds like
It's
he's
not even
hypersensitive
mental.
to
It's
the
just
paint on
automatic.
your walls.
I know. Thankfully, then he just does it. He just fixes all the things.
The pivot to twos, and I suppose
We already did 2s. Let's go to 6s.
Nice try.
I have as
Nice.
The fixation of twos being flattery. This has always been kind of a maybe. Let's
No,
see.
it works.
What do you
100.
think?
I hate it. The
This is
the some of the phrasing, I mean, like, I use a bunch of phrasing, but like one thing that I don't remember who I got this from, but feeling like they need an overtly approving audience, like overtly approving is, if without overt approval, it's disapproval. Like the same way that because I was the last one here, I was late. I was late.
even though it wasn't even.
No, I
10
was
o'clock.
late. But you don't understand. You don't get it.
I'm learning.
No, but I do. I looked at the clock. You weren't late.
Yeah, exactly. Objectively.
Anyway, no, but I one of the things like
this is so good.
when
Keep
I
overt. Yes.
when I talk to people about how hi Jones, when I talk to people about how if we're looking for help and casseroles, like I only really help my friends. Help. Flattery, you got me good. That is how I know I'm a 2. You got me good with flattery, and I got you good. And sometimes, like Joey Shuey released a book recently, and I commented congratulations, and I was like, oh my god, she's gonna think I'm flattering her. And then I was like, nope, you're just paranoid because you do that to people. But I actually wanted to wish her well because I read that thing in 24 hours. It was amazing. But all that to say, I'm like, yeah, flattery, absolutely. For me, it is. As a person who doesn't care about control the way that we define it in the Enneagram, it is the one thing that makes me feel like I can wrap my hands around something and do something.
Ooh, that was a good last line there.
I'm done. Move to 6.
Flattery comes, unfortunately, this gets worse. Flattery comes from two words. It's flat. It's you're laying flat before others, or you are looking for somebody to pat you with the flat of their hand. This is where the etymology works, and that's just piercing for me on the fronts that you're kind of staying. So fixating on the need for compliments,
The need to
expressions
give.
of attention, that at least pings for me on the 2 front of I would devote my mind, my mental energy to gaining attention in those expressions.
Gaining, engaging is kind of the phrase that I use, is gaining, engaging, right? So there's a constant, like we talk about 2's attention, like sort of going out. That's basically, I'm measuring for whether flattery worked or whether I have to do it again. And I hate saying that when I become conscious of it. I'm like, can I control alt delete the way I think? It's so weird. But it's like the when we talk about ones like doing reaction formation where their mouth says something and then their brain's like, what did I just say? Sometimes I feel like that with flattery, especially when I know that what I'm looking for from somebody else is grand old acceptance. It flies out of my mouth. Yep.
Kristen?
don't know that I have anything to add.
Hasn't she been brave enough?
Is it a give to get? Like, is it a conscious giving to get? Do you want the thing that you're giving, or do you even know?
No. So I think that's a thing that actually doesn't stop for twos. I think that it's always going to be something from the outside that tells them. So it is.
Wait. What is the
like when I catch myself, I open my mouth and I realize I am buttering somebody's muffin. That is a point where I recognize. I don't go in there and I'm like, well, time for mama to get what she wants, because I haven't connected with that. I don't know that I need. I don't know that I want. But that's I think that's the pride. But there is a screeching halt moment that can happen for twos, and flattery is the thing that I catch myself in all the time, and I'm like, why do I keep going back there? You know, and that's where I have to go. Well, what did I need? I often talk to twos about. We talk, what do I need, what's mine to do, or what do I need, and things like that in present tense. I think also, what did I need? What was I trying to do there is also very helpful.
So useful.
Yeah.
And then to pair it with the pride, right? So the pride, I think this is why it's so important to pair the two, because it's like, oh, I know what they need. Like, I don't need to ask. I don't need to wonder. I don't need to have any vulnerability here, because it's so clear to me what would be the right thing to say, what this person needs to hear.
Not to move us so fast, but just as what you're talking about with them going hand in hand, I'm very curious how fear, cowardice as a passion and fear, cowardice as a fixation go hand in hand. I'm so curious who has thought that. Yeah, because sometimes I say...
We're still talking about twos.
I thought we were
TJ hasn't gotten to unload yet.
TJ, you can just send me a voice note about it. What are you doing?
You don't want that either. What are you talking about?
Are you saying his presence doesn't matter, Jackie?
No, I would never say that.
What I think is interesting about twos, one of the things, is when they're doing the flattery thing and I'm not receiving it. I feel like the dial just gets turned up. Instead of like an ability to be like, oh, this isn't landing or whatever, and it's just like, oh my goodness gracious. And I don't mean you, Jackie, actually, by the way, just so you know, this is not this one time with Jackie. I have twos in my life. And that is so fascinating to me, where it's like, I'm trying to toss you some like social awarenesses, and it's just because the one note thing, right, which I think we need to come back to, it's like, but what I got to give is this. So that's just very interesting to me, where it's like, I'm like, stop, and there's not a stopping.
Yeah.
Shimmy.
So
which is what we're all doing.
Oh yeah. I think a lot of throughout this list, I've thought a lot about the list of things that we settle for that we brought up last time.
Oh.
And flattery to me feels very much in this vein of the thing that twos sort of settle for, and it's like from that place of pride moves, like gets stuck in the heart, and we move into the head, and now it becomes, I am totally comfortable with this surface level relationship that shows approval, and I'll do everything in my power to make sure that we maintain this, like, so long as it seems like we love each other, that is good enough.
Ding, ding, ding.
And it just becomes that pattern.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Delete
Sixes.
It hurts my heart.
And
So
unfortunately
threes.
with
we're doing triads. I get it.
Yeah, with threes, we see this with threes as well, but unfortunately, like it doesn't have to be based in reality. And to me, that's the place where it comes
based in response.
Like really gets like that is what the flattery is. Pride can still be based in reality because I know your needs and I am providing for your needs.
Yeah. External process.
Flattery moves into the space where it does not have to have a root in reality.
It's very good.
Wow.
Wait, you think it doesn't have to have a? I missed your
Flattery
setup
does
there.
not.
That you
It's
settle
it's a
for.
perceived.
I'm gauging whether or not I feel a sense of acceptance and approval through all of my amazing forms of attention through other people. Also,
words of acceptance and approval prove the acceptance.
see
and
also
approval.
manipulation, seduction. Yeah.
I think there's a distinction to be made here in terms of what someone is fixated on versus the feedback that they get. Fixation for me, I would want to say, is much more about the mental targeting in an excessive position. So I'm
What are we
I'm
targeting?
looking for flattery. I'm looking for somebody to affirm me in the ways that matter. The mental how do I get this would be what I suppose goes through my mind in terms of fixations. That how does your mind spin in terms of getting your motive in an excessive state?
I think it's a fallback tool, right? Fall back on vanity, fall back on flattery, fall back on stinginess. Go ahead.
I think it might only appear mental to the mental types. I think that it is a thought component. Obviously, that's what we're talking about. But how does it appear to the individual? I just don't think that's the same for the different centers.
Well, if you were to say, what's the mental life of a two look like in excess? I think this is what we're looking for. Whatever the word would be for that would be, what's a two look like mentally in excess in terms of their own
So
motive,
it's not about them.
self-understanding,
It's
and
about other
processes.
people.
No, it's
So
about
the
it's about how-
fixation is, what do
yeah,
they
well,
need?
yeah, I mean,
What do they want? It's a
you are a-
blindness to self.
So TJ brought up subjectivity with the ones. It's kind of subjectivity runs across all the types on this front. Your mind is seeking to get what you want. And if you are in a space where you have allowed fear to overwhelm a healthy way of getting your motive, and it's replaced by these cotton candy substitutes, which promote the passion and move into your head as how could I get more of that, and you get into that doom loop. I do like that string of movement myself. It's kind of like at the end of the road, where do you find the unhealthy version of your type mentally spinning? And that, I suppose it makes sense to me that the two would be in a mental space, unhealthy twos would be in a mental space where they're like, I need to get more pats. How do I get them? And that's the mental state.
I mean, we can ask Jackie, are you thinking that? Or are you thinking about other people? Are you thinking, how am I going to get more like, I don't,
It's not
is
as
that conscious? I don't think
it's not a formed thought.
Exactly.
And again, I think it goes back to what alerts me to that kind of self-awareness is that something breaks or something stops me, something on the outside alerts me, or I read someone's response because I can never not, and I could actually pick up a do not continue or something like wakes you up, right? But yeah, it's not conscious, because if it was conscious, if it was a plan, it wouldn't happen, and then pride wouldn't be a factor or a thing at all.
The fixation is about other people. That's the flattery. Like, ooh, I know what they need. I know what that person needs to hear. Ooh, I'm going to ask that person for this and thus and such. I'm going to throw them a compliment. That would, to me, be what is fixated upon. Your own needs are like not in awareness. If you heard the thought, this is actually about me, the pride wouldn't allow that thought. The pride would shuttle that to the elsewhere, right?
If we're thinking of flattery as in I'm literally buttering somebody's muffin because I want something out of them, then that's, like I want them to tell me I look I'm telling you look pretty because I want you to tell me I look pretty. Then okay, But if we say the essence of flattery in this case is seduction, right, is seeming to have more to offer than is the case to gain this overt approval, that is what the two mentally falls back on.
And the approval is the thing that matters.
Yes.
Like me, damn it.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to name that 2s, 5s, and 8s don't know what they want. They're not in touch with their needs. They're pushing for their motive, security, attention, control. Everything else is on the chopping block internally in their unhealthiest state if they haven't done business with their inner life. At least that would be my take. Am I wrong there?
No.
I mean,
No.
the rest of us know what we need. I don't know.
We are 2, 5, and 8 are purposefully and differently and more defensively disconnected from their needs.
That's by a degree. That makes sense. I like that.
And just to draw the line there, the stinginess, the withholding has to do with not engaging with what I actually need.
Yes.
But needing to keep what I have.
Right.
So be the
All right, are
opposite
we
of-
doing this? Cowardice.
I have mistrust. You have cowardice. I would love to throw out some reasons for reconsidering cowardice, but what's your thoughts there, Kristen?
Cowardice is correct. Cowardice is the deep, deep, deep belief, right? This isn't like conscious belief. It's the deep sense that I can't handle uncertainty, right? That I can't handle what life is going to offer me unless I have support, a plan, blah, 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 blah. So all of the fixating, what if this goes wrong? Create a problem, solve a problem, create a problem, solve a problem. That's all because I don't believe I can just contact life. The cowardice is the disconnection from my own will. So untrusting just doesn't get there. It just doesn't, it's not meaty enough. It's not deep enough in my
Let me push into that
opinion
for a
and
second.
experience.
Mistrust, distrust builds on that same idea of I can't
It
handle.
builds on it. It's not
But it also includes other people, which I think needs to get added for the 6. You don't.
No, it is added. It's I can't contact it. That's why I'm always grasping for an external set of guidelines or person, institution. So the other people is the fix.
Yeah.
That's the fixation, is that I need other people. I need a set of rules. I'm just going to repeat myself because I can't myself. That's the cowardice. Myself, there isn't, there's nothing there.
What would you say
That's the lie.
The passion is for 6s, if not cowardice?
Fear.
Okay.
The passion is fear. You could say doubt, maybe, but I think of doubt as more of a thinky thing. So it's full of fear, meeting this belief that without rules, people, blah, 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 I can't. Like, I don't have what it takes.
Thoughts?
None, Your Honor.
How do we distinguish fear for the 6 from fear for the 5 and 7?
Hold on, I want to hear what TJ is thinking about my impassioned defense of cowardice.
I prefer doubt or mistrust as the passion or sin, largely because I don't think that doubt is necessarily. I think, especially when we're talking about doubt for 6s, I don't think it's a mental process. I think it's an untouchable way of navigating the world. Like it's deeply seated. Like it's not about mental power, because if it was, 6s could overcome it with logic. Does that make sense?
No.
So like, we don't need to get stuck on that. I think a big part of the problem with cowardice then is, what do you do with 6s who spend more time on the counterphobic end of the spectrum?
That's where I
can
want to
tell
talk
you.
about as well.
Please.
Okay. Well, what are your questions?
No,
This
that's
is
the question.
me. I
Like,
spend more time
if-
on that side of things. Yeah.
If the response is cowardice, then how do you explain the 6 that says, "Oh, I'll
Okay.
show you I'm not afraid"?
Allow me.
Please.
The 6 that is saying, I will show you I'm not afraid, is pushing against someone or something always. It's never their own will being exerted.
Yeah.
It's, I find myself in an against posture. When they're having that experience, is they miss that because it feels powerful. But without that being institution, all the same things to go against, they're just left adrift. So it's the orientation to external authority that makes them feel like they're sturdy. Without that, it's an empty vessel of,
Sure.
I can't do it. But you won't contact that because it's too painful. It's too scary. I mean, this has literally been my journey because that was me. I was the like, burn it all down, take out every bad authority. I had no clue that was because without doing that, right, I would just be left with this gaping fear and no sense of myself.
You would describe
So
those acts as cowardly acts?
No, I would describe them as covering up cowardice, as it doesn't feel cowardly, but you have to have a stronger system to go against for the action to occur. That's what makes it cowardice. It's not just me like, hey, I've got a great idea. I'm going to go assert this in the world. No, I have to contact someone. It's the againstness that makes it feel and look powerful. But that isn't my own will moving forward. Mm-hmm. It doesn't look like cowardice because what's actually going on is very much unconscious. Mm-hmm. So what it looks like is a constant focus on problems, a constant question. What if this goes wrong? I need to make sure I can fix that. What if this unjust authority keeps doing what they're doing? Everyone's going to be at risk. I need to focus on that and do something about that. What if this? What if that? What if this? What if that? That's the constant, that's the fixated thinking piece.
Yeah, what's the word for that?
And it's constant.
Constant worst case scenario thinking. What's
But
the word
it
for that?
doesn't look like worst case scenario thinking. That's what I just drives
sorry.
me.
Sorry.
But it is. But it doesn't feel that way, right? It just feels very rational. Like we all could do a better job of forecasting what could go wrong and doing some work around that. It's just like on hyperdrive.
Forecasting is a good word.
Right. But what's behind, right? It's like what's under. Anyway, whatever.
Is forecasting a negative? Like,
I don't think so.
Could it get qualified as a negative? You're constantly forecasting. Similar to 7s, you're constantly
Of course
scheming.
it's a negative, but it's the fixation.
Yeah.
It can
I
be
mean, that
negative, but
word
it can
would
be really
work.
positive. Yeah. Well, no, it would. Why are we against? Why do we need to? I'm just really curious. The general resistance in the room to the word cowardice, as I, the 6, have told you it's correct. I'm very interested in this.
I'm talking a lot. I'll tell you what my thoughts are.
No, I'm
about-
talking a lot, but it's my number.
I just think cowardice should fits more cleanly in the passion and sin category because fear, unfortunately, is not exclusive to 6s. That would be the thing. What is it what's the passion that's exclusive to 6s is something I think semantically is very valuable when having these discussions.
It'd have to be doubt then.
And I think that, well, I actually had doubt as my
Yeah, we can agree on
cowardice and
doubt
doubt, I
and
think,
move on.
goes together. Okay. We don't need to move on. This is a
The point that the reason it matters so much is it's this disconnection from essential will, right? That is the part that 6s need to get in touch with, is their essential will. And cowardice is what describes the disconnection from that essential quality better than anything else. I can't hack it by myself. That's that deep, deep, deep rooted message. And doubt doesn't quite get there, and mistrust doesn't quite get there. I can't get it. You know, in Sandra Maitre's book, she says it's self-castration. And it's like, that's what we're talking about here. Hypersensitive is me, okay? Not you, Jeff.
Got him.
Well, I want to go ahead. Sorry.
This is really fun,
Again, we're talking about semantics. To me, like, part of why this is so hard is our understanding of fear and cowardice is deeply distorted by the way that it's presented in modern American culture, right? Like it's not necessarily about like what we want to talk about when we talk about fear. It's about whether or not there's a tiger in the room, and if we jump on that tiger, then that's not cowardice, right? But there's so many other types of ways of understanding what cowardice is, meaning we have these kinds of discussions. I also think that we've done a very bad job historically teaching about sixes. And part of that is because we only understand sixes from what we see of them. And that has to do with, their fear of speaking up and a lack of trust in their own ability to communicate themselves properly. So a lot of this discussion, like I feel like we could have this discussion around and around and around and around and all still be talking about the same thing.
Yeah. It's pretty annoying. It's pretty annoying to be a 6 in this room who has been on a mission to explain sixes in like 170 podcast episodes, and to kind of be argued with about what I've come to as I also work with them. I'm just like, are you kidding me right now?
Do it right, and we won't argue with you.
Yeah, I mean, right and wrong thinking is...
Like,
I'm
I am,
all for
essential willing it all over the place, and you guys are like, meh.
Okay,
like,
so
can't even believe this is reality.
Big part of why I struggle with the word cowardice is because of the way that it affects, like when I talk about fear and cowardice with sixes, it moves them into a place where they can't get past the sort of modern understandings of fear and cowardice.
Yeah.
And we can't talk about the thing that's deeper underneath that.
That's a different problem. Yep.
Which is fair.
I'm here calling a spade a spade. That doesn't mean sixes can hear it.
So how can we get to language where it pings for sixes without sending them into a doom loop?
That's a very different question.
We have to, I don't think we do enough time. We don't take enough time explaining, fear the motive and then fear the trap. Well, I'm using fear reductively, right? Like fear the motive and then fear the trap and then fear as in the opposite of the thing you really want, security. And then fear as the tool, aka the fixation. Like we don't really do a lot of distinguishing, because then I think that's why we need all these crazy semantics to be like, well, this one's cowardice and this one's doubt and this one's anxiety, but we can't say that. Like we have so many. I don't think we do enough distinguishing, and then we start lumping them together and we go, sixes are scaredy cats. And that's all we got.
I mean, I don't do any of that, but I understand.
We know that you don't do it, Kristen.
Yeah. Well, it matters. It matters that I've done a lot of work.
Yes, you have.
Two things to move us forward. That was fantastic. One, three things. One, that was fantastic. Two, in my view, Kristen Messier is the worldwide expert on sixes, and I would love to elevate that as my opinion.
Agreed.
That doesn't mean I don't get to disagree with experts occasionally and push them
You
in their thinking.
can.
You get great responses,
against
which
the
you are
authority.
giving. You're giving great
Push
responses.
against the authority. And of course, taking the position of the authority is terrifying. So this conversation will haunt me all day and into tomorrow morning. That'll be fun for me.
You'll be fixated on this fixation
I'll be like texting
conversation?
Jeff, okay, can we just talk? I mean, I won't because I've done my work, but like,
I would invite that. I like those conversations. Lastly,
would never
dear
allow it.
listener, you will
Hydrophobic
notice that
sex that I
TJ Wilson is amazing. He's the only one who didn't take our conversation about fixations personally.
I just don't care that much.
All of us got a little energized when our type was on stage.
I don't know what it is. My conversations with other nines, like we do not have
be
the
a
same
fly.
kind of response to our shadow as a lot of other
well, you
people.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
You don't.
It's like, oh yeah, that's me. Tell it. Yeah.
I really want to hear those. Okay, conversations.
Most
right.
of them are very boring because we're mirrors reflecting each other. It's awful.
Let's move to sevens since they're in the head triad as well, and there'll be some overlap there with the sixes. But I have the sevens are similarly to the preparation side, but it's going to be different for the sevens. I have it as scheming. That there is a constant mental, where am I jumping to next? That is the fixation. Do you guys have something different for a fixation for sevens?
You said scheming?
I said scheming.
I had to come back into my body. I had completely vanished from the conversation. Hi, everyone. I'm back. What are we talking
Welcome
about?
back. We're talking about fixations.
Got it. Okay, type 7. You said scheming. I have planning, but same kind of thoughts. Yes.
I have over planning.
All right, so Jackie, your husband's a 7.
Yes.
Tell me what's going on. What is going on in his head?
What is going? He what did I ask him the other day? I asked him. Oh, I said something happened to Tiger Woods recently.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like,
DUI.
"Oh yeah,
That guy
yeah." He goes,
got a
"Yeah,"
car
and then such and such. Also,
Flipped a car, didn't he?
yep. So
Again.
says my husband. He goes, "Oh, he flipped a car, and oh, he this, and oh, he that." And I said to him, "I was like, why don't? Oh, so you like? How come you know these things and you don't tell me? AKA, how come there's a part of your world I don't have access to, right?" And he,
Oh my gosh, how did that not come up? We were talking about twos. That is
because I don't have self-awareness. God. So, and then he said, because if I told you everything that was going on in my head, we'd all explode. And I was like, got it. So what goes on in his head, I don't know. But here's what I do know is that planning over planning is my word of choice because I think it encapsulates like using anticipation as a crutch. Sometimes it's the ing in the getting into something for type 7s that I think makes the biggest difference. And that is the thing that they keep going back to. And so I think it's I use the word over planning, and I see that a lot in not just him, but when I work with 7s, and the 7s I work with particularly elect for boot camp, which is the toughest. I don't get it. But the over planning, the ing, the getting into something, the starting something, the ing of it all, we'd be really surprised how little execution there is compared to the ing of it all. And so I think that's why I use over planning. I had planning regularly, and then I got married to a 7 and I was like, no, baby, it is over planning. Thoughts, people, let me hear it.
So I experience it like this. Every time there's a landing, the 7 goes, but also, or you know what else? It's like this inability to just land a thing.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it happens in the fall. I think that sometimes the landing is too few a time. Yep. Yeah. Too few a time.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the way down.
So there's just always the ing is so good because it's always like, and we could also, so it's not like planning like I'm planning trips all the time. Maybe some 7s and do that, but it's an ideating. This is a head type. I need a new idea. I need a new thought about that. I need to keep it going, because if we come here, we're gonna get a little close.
It's about staying in the ing
this
stage.
deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's the phrasing around it? We know what everyone has their language. 1, 4, and 7 are frustrated types or idealizing types. But there's sort of this language around how everything is more perfect in our idealizations than in reality, right? And I really see that with the 7s. There's so much more. Everything that is perfect in over planning and in anticipating, right? And execution is the thing that's like frictiony and costly and sticky, and other people have to come and they're not as fast as I am, and like they're boring, and why do I have to stop to pee, like all that stuff. But yeah, I think that's the immediate fallback. I think it's the one place that we really see the fixation on a type the most obvious, like the most obviously of all the 9 types.
Interesting.
Say more on that, Jackie. The most obvious.
I think it is the most. We may not call it a fixation, but it is the thing that rolls into many other patterns, because they often talk about their plans. They make plans. They're in plans. They're starting something new. They're inging something. They're very adventurous. We qualify them as such and so on. So like, there's so much proof or evidence or just tangibility around this fixation, in the flesh.
Yeah.
Even if
There's
we don't
a
call it
string
such.
of unfinished projects left behind.
Sure,
them.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah, to me, the in other parts of Enneagram theory, we talk about orientation to time and on all of that, and like to Jeff's point about hypersensitivity, like ones sort of in this fixation place double down on the present, right?
Yup.
4s double down on the past, melancholy. 7s double down on the future. And it is never about what we're doing. This over planning, this scheming, whatever it is always about what's on the other side of the hill. And in this space, you never get to the other side of the hill. It's always like, what's on the other side of the hill? Ooh, there's another hill. Ooh, there's another hill. Ooh, there's another hill. Ooh, there's another hill. And it's just up and up and up and up and up. And it's, not appreciating, not noticing the now, and always looking toward that future. How do I get to that other side of the hill?
Yeah.
Feeding the motive is never about completion or execution. It's 100% mental. I'm having this thought about the hexad, about 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8. I think all of them secretly avoid their secondary center. I think they move off their secondary center as something that's uncomfortable. And I think you could play this out, that they don't want to spend time. But for a 7, their body is their secondary center. And for 7s, they don't care about execution, even though it looks like they do. Because you're starting this thing. You're starting the thing. What's actually happening is they want you to join them in envisioning what could be. And that's where their motive's fulfilled. It's 100% mental. It's not physical, because they don't care about the physical world.
Until it
breaks.
Until,
and then they
right.
have to go
Because then
into stress.
there's what's the phrase, when all the shit that you sweep under the rug makes you trip later. Or like when all you have at the end of your plans is plans, right? Like, so we joke about 1s, 4s, and 7s sort of getting into this mode of like, when one thing starts to suck, everything starts to suck, and it's like domino, 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 domino. And when that happens, there is a frustration when you look around and all you see are plans. After all, you've done all of this planning. Yeah.
And because of the fixation, that can also mean, well, I guess that means I have to move now.
And
Like
another
it's
thing. Yep.
Skipping
Exactly.
over the plans and starting a new set of plans. Like that is like the scheming, the over planning, like we have to recognize that it's intentionally avoiding the bad things, so there's always somewhere else to move.
Yeah.
All right, can I tell you something funny? So when my stepfather died, who was a 7, my mom set his ashes on top of a big ass pile of blueprints that had not yet been submitted or completed. This, the 7 and 9 mixture, this is just a fantastic little picture of when she died. His ashes were still in the office on top of those blueprints.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead. Sorry, you're going to start.
Perfect.
I feel like it needs to be said. They do things. Sevens do things. They work. They have
Yes.
jobs. They engage in
Yes.
things. So there's something here that like
They're very active people.
Right. So is it the case that when they're doing their actual work, there's just like a dissatisfaction? Or is it the case that they're doing their work, but their mind is like, man, I can't wait till I can whatever, or you know what? Like
It seems
do you
to
know what
be.
I'm asking?
It seems to be that that wherever they are, though they know that they enjoy it, when they stop and they stare, they don't stop and stare, and so they need to be elsewhere, no matter where they are. And it's not necessarily about being dissatisfied where they are now. It's about believing that there's a fullness or a contentment that's just over there, just over there, just over there. But really what starts to sub as just over there is planning and thinking and strategizing towards and optimizing towards and putting my powers of control.
Motive is fulfilled in the head. They are acting. That's not where their motive is fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the big thing,
know
wouldn't
what
it?
that means.
Well, you need, so for 5, 6s, and 7s, all of them are going to be resource aware. So 7s are resource aware. And like the job and doing the things, it's going to come out of that space of what are the sorts of vocations that I can embrace where I can maximize my envisioning, my my planning side. Unfortunately, like the caricature in my head is the youth pastor who doesn't necessarily need to execute. They just need to consistently be dreaming about the things that we might do. And once we start doing them, then I'm dreaming about the next thing we might do, and you get paid for that.
The vibe hire.
Yes.
Yeah, the vibe hire.
Human.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they are
That's how I
hard
ended up with a
workers. They're
job at a church, by the way.
Listen, they're hard workers. They're involved in the things that they do. They really love to, but we're talking about where they get what they want.
That's it.
And that's where anticipation and over planning and all of those things play a role in avoiding the thing that they fear and hoping to get them what they want.
Okay, the question that came up during the 6, whatever that was, what's the discussion?
Deep
the animated
dive
discussion.
into insights and glory.
Anywho, the difference, right, of like the fear. What's the difference of the fear? And the difference, right, is the 6 there's the fear there, and the 6 has nowhere to go, right? I can't future plan and feel good. That sucks. And I can't go inside and think my thinky thoughts like a 5 can. So I think the thing that's different about 7 is it's fear, but they're like, I'm not going there. I'm going to stay in my safe place, which is I know there's something better. I know I'll get there eventually. And I'm just going to keep hanging out there because they don't have to contact the fear and can kind of pretend it doesn't exist at all.
Right.
Is that
A dark image of this is my father is a 7. His wife has cancer right now, and he's planning vacations because the physical now is really difficult to live in, but it's probably going to get better. But we should probably plan next July because we could be in Puerto Rico. And that posture is what I see there in terms of like the present execution and
Well, I already know what right now
positivity
is.
and moving forward. Yeah.
I don't know what next July could be, but I know what right now is, and maybe I have control over what next July could be.
Right. I also think like it's easy for us to sort of point at the visible fear of 6s. But sevens, because of the nature of avoiding pain, don't want to call that thing fear. They don't want to deal with fear. So, like I love this example. A friend of ours who is a 7 did not know about his fear until he realized that he's keeping a space open in his mind for the possibility of moving back to his home country. No, his life is here. His family's here. He may not ever go back to that place. But part of holding that fear in is not realizing that what leaving that door open is wildly important for him, because if it closes, that means he can't ever go back there. Like there's a fear feeding into that desire to move forward, that desire to see possibilities. And so when we talk about fears with 7s, it's tricky because a lot of 7s are in denial about their fear because of their desire to move away from pain.
Yeah, it's a negative emotion.
Yeah.
It's also the case, you don't see fear in 7s because they're positive spinning.
Yeah.
So of course you don't see the fear. They're telling you something wildly different about what could happen in the future, as opposed to the experience of anxiety in the present. And that would be where the scheming, just to bring in fixation, that's where the mind is in that dark space, is I'm outrunning. And that may appear to be a virtue at one level. Why wouldn't we want to invest in habitual planning that, is about something that's way better than right now? And, we could talk about the negatives that come with that. Boom. 8s.
There's a lot of American culture, right, in 3, 7, and 8. And
Correct.
Yeah.
There's no problems here.
Yeah.
Go forth and conquer.
I had forever had vengeance as my fixation for 8s, which they, I think, rightly push back on, because it's not all about hitting somebody in the face.
Yeah, I'd like another word for it, because sometimes it is about hitting somebody, but most of the time it's really not, is it?
What I was trying to settle on, and this was prepping for today, is I wanted to talk about amplification. I think that less still works. It's you desire intensity of experience, but how do we make it even bigger? Or something of that to that effect. What is it that's going on in the mind of an 8 that we can talk about?
I don't know that amplification is used this way and for this reason. I do think something in the vengeance family works, but it is not revenge, right? There is something in which whatever the word is balances the scales. The thing that oppressed gets its shit settled and gets it handed to them. They don't have to be in charge of it. They're not like, and sometimes we see it go off the deep end. I'm thinking of one story in particular where someone felt so wronged, and it was an ego hurt, that they did something horrible to another person and felt that it was an equal thing. That's not always the case, right? It's not always this retaliatory thing. It's about balancing scales. So people I think someone else has used the word, maybe Suzanne Stabile uses the word retribution. I'm not sure. I don't know what the word is, but I believe it's in that family of, there is a justice component, there is a balancing scale component, and it is where they go to make things even and right. And I'm not trying to use one-ish words here. I'm trying to rebalance is a stabilize, ground. These are the, get it on one level, get it right, get it tight. I don't know how to explain it, but that's there's not this
not always
retaliatory.
Retaliatory.
Yeah.
My mind goes to, I'd love to your thoughts. My mind goes to the fixation is about protecting future 8. That's actually what's going on. It's
protecting future
8. Whoever the 8 is, the mind is focused on engaging is similar to the 7. They're using future tools, and the target is I'm not going to be vulnerable next Thursday. What does that look like in the mind as a fixation that is overblown? I think that's where we probably should. Now, justice can come into play there. Sometimes the 8 is focused on hitting you in the mouth as hard as they possibly can, not necessarily always because of retaliation, but because you're not going to hit me again next Thursday if I hit you now. It would be something of that.
Equal tension. That's what it is. Like it's there's and we see this in them being a, you know, what I call reactive type with 4 and 6, right? Is there's this equal tension that needs to be met. There's and making it equal, holding it on both sides with equal tension. And that's why I think we think it's vengeance, but it's really just making it equal, making it right. It just,
I think there is something over. There's something over. I don't think they just want to make it like maybe cosmically right.
But and that's where
this, like,
there's
I'm
room
a little
for
over you. You're not going to come at me. I'm going to not.
There can be a punishing element, but that's where I think cosmically is a really wonderful word, because from there can have, in some cases, the punitive nature of it. In, you know, for some 8s, vengeance, if let's just say, is simply, this person will literally never have access to me again and I'll never speak to them again. But that's it. I think that cosmically is when I say equal tension, that's like the perfect word for it, right? Cosmically is, because there are these different things that can trickle from it. And to, I guess, to the beholder, we gotta all do the work, guys. But it's not just punishing. It's not just retaliation. It's not just retribution. It's not just walking away and making the scales even. It's not just any of those things.
But it's this idea, Jackie, I love what you're saying. And I feel like it's this idea that the 8 knows where the balance is. That's the thing that I'm trying to say, right?
Okay.
It's like, I can see. That's what I mean by the sort of elevation of their own read of things.
Jackie brought up our good friend Joey Shuey earlier, who brought us a phrase for 8s that I have become obsessed with, and it's egregious self-confidence.
Yeah.
And when you put someone who has egregious self-confidence into this unhealthy space of desiring some kind of retribution, that can be about balancing the scales. But for the 8, it is about balancing the scales. And for the 8, it is about justice. And the part that is vengeance or retribution or whatever other word might fit better here, it is an unbalanced perspective trying to force the world into balance.
Oh, that's good.
Yes. Yeah.
My take on the justice side is that justice protects you. Like if you fight hard for justice for the sake of the weak, you in the same move are protecting yourself. And the posture of justice and the elevation of this as a desirable for the 8 alongside 9s and 1s who also elevate justice for the 8 it's about making myself not vulnerable in the future. Like what does it look like to fixate on both these things, the my way side, the justice side? Like what is in the mind of an 8 as they, you know, as that doom loop begins to spiral? Because it can look like a virtue as we're pitching it. Right. This can be a very unhealthy spot for the 8 though.
So the conscious thoughts that I have here for 8 are like, I'm not going to let that slide, and don't mistake my kindness for weakness. This sort of like, I am in charge here.
Yep.
And this sort of, to me would be the fixation. What are all the variations of I am in charge here? That's that egregious self-confidence. And that being the gear, or the whatever phrase we used earlier, the note, the single note, is I actually am kind of the decider, the cosmic knower.
And not in a pride way, in a firm belief that my way is the way that is correct.
Right. It's
Right.
not a
This
mental,
is how the world works.
it's not a mental superiority thing so much as it is a sensory motor dominant thing.
So I brought up repression of the secondary center or an aversion to the secondary center. I think 8s come across as they're very thoughtful. I think that they think very fast and then move off of thinking because they don't actually want to stay in that world. I don't think that 8s want to do hard thinking for a while. They want to intuit things and mentally justify them fast and then get into engaging the world with their strength.
Will masking as wisdom.
Yeah. And a lot of us, like, we hear 8s and we're like, damn, you came to that conclusion fast and it seems pretty sound. But what is actually taking place, in my view, is what they're processing where they're going to be vulnerable, and that creates a hierarchy of what matters. And the justice orientation, I think, is part of this. Like, what is it that's going to make me vulnerable? So I have this is a random question, text conversation I'm having with an 8 who's very worried about the fact that gas prices are going up because this will be a huge obstacle because his wife commutes an hour a day both ways. And this is on his mind right now. And I'm really curious how that overlaps because I think there might be something there. Anyway, I'm to float that as an example of like how would you wrestle with this?
Say more, Jeff.
I think that he feels vulnerable in his finances right now, and gas prices.
Right,
make him
but
feel
how is it
vulnerable.
coming across? Like, what's the?
He's fixating on this problem, and I don't.
But it's being communicated with what energy?
Yeah, it's like it's not a. It's
Is it
it's
like,
a,
oh
well,
man,
it's
I'm
an
really
anger.
worried.
It's an anger at the
Okay,
world.
yeah.
Can you believe all this motherfucking shit? No
Exactly.
monetization. Sorry, Jackie. The there, it has that element to it. I can't control the things.
That's
doing
what
my
it
best.
was. I can't make. There's an element that kicks into gear when it cannot be made right. Right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm-
And coupled with a certainty that I do know how to fix it. That if only these people would do this, this is how it would solve this problem. And it's usually very simple as well. Right?
well, they're knuckleheads, so
Yeah.
the guys running the gas, knuckleheads, all of them.
How would we characterize the fixation for an 8? Given this
Like with a
conversation?
word or?
Yeah, like what's a word that pops for you?
I actually kind of like lust. Or is that elsewhere? Is that the passion?
Is the passion.
The passion, yeah.
What was the? I said rebalance, and then I think TJ said another word that I liked better, but I don't remember.
I don't remember what I said.
He said
So long.
something.
Well,
Yeah, I'm trying to-
egregious self-confidence, does that have a mental, can you encapsulate that in a,
No, I think that's just their state
Posture.
of being. I don't know that that's
Yeah.
a fixation.
Maybe
I-
ret-
I think
maybe
that sounds
retribution.
like their
is-
minds to me.
Maybe retribution is the word, and we just have to unknow what we culturally think about retribution.
I think retribution works pretty well because
Yeah.
like especially considering that from the perspective of the 8, this is about balancing the scales.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think that we're learning a lot about 8s from 8s when like denial is one of their great big things. And so there's a world in which there's a wall, right? There's a world in which you Enneagram people can't accurately describe me. But it's like, but I'm also not at all willing to show you the gushier parts.
Truth.
So that's in the field here for me. It's like, well, okay, but
No, meta level conversation.
self-denial is, go ahead, Jeff.
Just something that's being learned about 8s right now is 8s are really pissed at the descriptions that people are putting out. of
That's
them.
what I'm saying.
But the 8s aren't being vulnerable enough to showcase their hearts so that the rest of us understand them. And so your fault, eights, for not communicating better about your inner life and getting in touch with it. Sorry that we're getting
So
this
we're
wrong.
like, is it vengeance? Because they all tell us it's not vengeance, right? But it's like similar to the cowardice thing. It's like, oh, we can't say it because...
Stop picking on
And I get
eights.
it. We need
love
language that
them.
works.
things,
Jackie, you love all these people.
the thing is when eights do engage Enneagrams, they start doing a lot of self-work. What you see is a lot of something very, very different coming forth, especially when they embrace vulnerability and do the hard work of looking inside alongside twos. When twos actually do the hard work of looking inside and communicate that to the rest of us, it just comes out as like, what is this? You know
And
what I mean?
it's not about not loving eights or whatever. It's about... It's very hard to get real. Jeff, you said it best. And there's this pushback of like, y'all have it all wrong. Because they want to be their ego ideal, which is innocent and good. And it's like, well, okay, but you're not, because we're all, I think that's kind of what we're a little bit having to negotiate.
And by the way, you know what?
They're
twos
in
does
the room with us, okay? That's how powerful they think they are. That's how powerful they've made themselves, is we're like, ooh. Sorry, Jeff,
It's true. You can feel their presence. By the way, you know who does a better job at exposing the hearts of twos than anyone else that I know? Jackie Contessa. She's fantastic on this front.
Ew.
It needs to be elevated as a spokesperson for self-aware two-ness.
Thank you.
See, handing out. Anything else on eights? Land this thing with threes?
No, I love eights. I gotta say, I think I'm on the last note. I think the vengeance does go. I want to find a better word. Retribution gets close, but they do take it all the other way. When I work with eights, even the ones that don't end up becoming clients in consultations with them, like 9 times out of 10, I meet an 8 and I have to tell them, you cannot do 200% of the work that you're making up for other people, because you've heard you're the problem the entire time. So like, I think that same energy of make it right under vengeance or retribution or whatever does, they throw the football double across the field. Sports terms, you guys get it. They do double. Jeff gets it. Jeff gets it. Sports ball. But they whatever that energy is, whatever word we have for it, it does amplify double, like in the positive way, right? So I think we have to get really good at giving, honestly, if we took care of ourselves a little bit more and we gave them a little bit more of a space to reveal what was really going on under there, and that it wasn't vengeance.
Oh my God.
No, I'm so serious. I work with some badass 8s, and I'm like, that's why when I talk about 8s, I'm like, I want to mop the floor with every single one of you MFers who says things about 8s and is like, I met an unhealthy 8 once, and I'm like, okay, so you don't have a backbone. That's what I'm hearing. Ugh. Anyways,
Seriously,
I love my clients.
Cry me a river. No,
you cry me a river.
Absolutely not. Oh my God, I will cry a lot of rivers. What about invulnerable as their deal?
I'm trying to find the word that contains the energy of putting things back to how they know energetically they should be, and demolishing the thing that caused the problem in the first place. That is like whatever word describes that. And like, that's where I when they come in and I'm like, you can't do 200%. You can't do the work of a person who's not going to do the work. Like, you can't do 200%, because I see that same energy there. They're trying to set things right and demolish whatever. So I don't know what that word is, but I don't know. Those are my last thoughts on 8s.
Yeah, no, I think that lands where I would want to land, is that the fixation is about self-protection at some level, and it has that independent, assertive, justice-oriented posture. Whatever we're thinking on that.
Go find your safe space, 8s.
It's in my arms. It's in my arms. Come here, 8s.
Well, I'm offended, right, by the most obnoxious, there's no vulnerability here type. We need to give them space. Like, I'm disinterested in that project. But Jackie's here.
I'm very interested.
don't
I'm
go
very
to
interested in
Kristen.
that project.
For safe space. Jackie
You
will-
Gen
Yeah.
Xers and your fortitude.
Seriously. I'm half joking.
And it's true.
Doesn't matter.
Threes. I have that it's deceit or self-deceit. I like deceit better because threes energy is going two ways. And that I have the fixation is something akin to vanity. This is a response to the threes feeling of valuelessness and, talking themselves up, seeking to convince. How do I get other people to believe that I have the value that I believe that I have? Strikes me as a worthwhile way of coming to the fixation.
I think vanity is a great word for the fixation. Beatrice Chestnut, I think. The phrase was living for the POV of themselves through the eyes of others, from the eyes of others. And I think that nails it. So like when I do teach passion, the passion for type 3, go ahead.
Is that different for twos and fours?
Yes.
How
Because
so?
I am not putting myself, I'm not, there's no relative success where I'm putting myself in somebody else's POV and witnessing myself in that reception. I'm not doing that much. It's not automatic for me like that. I'm looking at somebody and I'm intuiting things, but I don't have this, I don't place myself. When I work with threes on this, we make the joke about how it's like when they go follow somebody on Instagram and then they go back to their own profile as fast as possible and think to themselves, how is this person going to metabolize my profile when they go through it? That on a way of life scale, right? Like when I teach the passion for type 3, I do talk about self-deceit and vanity as a pipeline. Because they are so directly intertwined, right? Like they just perpetuate the other, like cats chasing their tail. So I don't think it's the same for twos. Like it's not the same for myself the way that it is for threes, where they are living for the POV of themselves.
Yeah.
Through the eyes of another person. I'm not.
Love it.
Thoughts,
Our
friends?
language for that has been that threes use the rest of the world as mirrors at that level. Thoughts on this?
It sounds like threes are just the most sort of obvious expression of what we think of when we say image type.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like
true
2, 3,
mirror
and 4,
ball,
it's like
yeah.
threes just kind of like they want to look really good. They're trying to look really good.
Well-
They're doing really good things, and they want that mirroring back. It's kind of like clean, whereas 4 and 2 is a little more.
The image manipulation and the others driven image, change, or that is definitely more 3-ish, right? So when we think image type, it for sure lands. It is like, I think it is really straightforward, except if we have makeup and mirrors in our minds for vanity. Really, like, other than that, I think vanity is very straightforward for type 3s.
Vanity, what I would want to say there is that it's the positive self-regard that gets amplified, and specifically in terms of what is communicated. What's the message that other people believe about me? I am powerful because, or I'm attractive. I'm getting my attention fix through what is being spoken.
Is there also an element of, so let's say they go out and have a great day and, win the day. Can they hold that without like telling someone about it or sharing it?
Not in the space of fixation.
Not in vanity, no.
Okay, not in the space of
There it is.
fixation. Right. So that would be like the growth edge would be like, I won the day and I'm just living in that. Okay, so there has to be like, hey, let me tell you about my day, or let me post it, or get some kind of mirroring about it.
One of the ways that we can sort of define vanity is being a slave to praise, right? So I think that it is the feedback that matters that makes it so. Like, you didn't do anything unless if a tree falls in the woods and no one was around to hear it, it didn't fall.
I brought this up with twos, thinking about flattery as sort of a settling for the good talk, and it doesn't necessarily have to be based in reality. And here, vanity to me is settling for the comments of whatever image I put forward. Like it's not about the real person, but the version of me that I presented to you. That is, and so like the self-deceit as a sin, as a passion, like it's believing that I am this mask. That when I put on this mask is me, and I am this mask. And then vanity comes and settles for my identity will now be about the attention I receive for this mask. And that mask can have significant basis in reality. Like, threes want to be seen as praiseworthy and excellent, so they become praiseworthy and excellent. But then when vanity is the thing that they're stuck in, it's not necessarily about who they are as a person. It's about the mask that they're presenting to the world. And so long as you praise this mask, so long as you tell me I'm a great golfer, then it doesn't matter that I'm a terrible husband and a bad driver and all of these other things. The mask is what's important.
That's good.
I so want to talk about a very powerful person and how in our world and how often this comes up, but I will refrain for the sake of everyone. But this is spot on. It's vanity projects mean I'm winning next Thursday, the appearance game.
I think like to not to like directly push against this. I did not grow up wearing makeup. I don't have that thing. Like I don't do makeup. And I want that to be out in front before I say this thing that I'm about to say. But putting on makeup can often be an act of vanity. That's why we call that thing vanity. We're putting on a mask. And there are some people in the world who very clearly, everyone can tell they are putting on makeup so that nobody sees how old they look. And it is completely obvious to everyone, and for some reason we want to pretend like the emperor is wearing clothes. That's vanity.
Yep. There you go. Good discussion.
Word.
This went only an hour longer than most of our discussions. Apparently we had something to get off our chests about the types. We're actually diving into Enneagram is what it really is. We're taking them type by type. Last words on fixation?
Do your damn work, people.
And a reminder that fixation is an unhealthy place to be. We're not described like, if you feel like this is you and your feelings are hurt because we're describing negative parts of you, well, that's because you're stuck in fixation and you're maybe in an unhealthy place. So we're not trying to hurt your feelings. We're saying this is unhealthy. Go to the doctor.
I'm going to put TJ's email in the show notes so you can send him all sorts of...
Go ahead. At me.
And 8, don't forget to reach out to Kristen.
Yeah.
Easy to find.
Can't wait.
Speaking of recklessness, I
was like, oh God.
The next week.
That will now be the part that I replay all night. Forget my 60 rants. It's gonna be that part that keeps me up tonight.
So, what saves you from fixation? Of all things, Next week, we're going to talk about burnout. And normally, burnout can come across as a negative condition, but I think this may be a saving grace that you might hit a spot where things actually feel like they break, and you say to yourself, I need to change some stuff. Burnout is one of the faces, but I think it's worth talking about each of the types in burnout, so we're going to pick that up in our discussion next time. Y'all are the best.
We may have to break these into two.
This was great.
good.
Good
I'm
morning.
exhausted. Okay.
Good
morning,
morning.
everyone.
Hey friends, it's Jeff. We're getting to interview some of the most intriguing people in the Enneagram world. There are already 20 plus interviews up at aroundthecircle.org, and we're continuing to add more. That site is where we're gathering and platforming all of our best work. Much of it is available for free. Katie Whitlock and I have been doing deep studies working through wings, stance, fear, anger, and shame in our Rewired series. I'm beginning to release chapters from my next Enneagram book, which I'm calling The Steps, for early review for your consideration. And we have monthly online workshops in which 30 or so folks gather to talk about their type. There's audiobooks, there's videos, there's lots of fun stuff, lots to like. Go to aroundthecircle.org, and may all good things be yours.